it over it. All right, so continuing on, a lot of you have been in these sessions with me. I'm Adam Seipel. I'm a technology coach in Albemarle County. I've really enjoyed getting to work with educators from across the state throughout the last few months. It's been a fun challenge for me, and I've loved being able to see the excitement and how we all are trying to serve our kiddos. You can connect with me on social media or at my email address, and both of those are listed on slide 2. Some of you have been doing that, and it's been great, and you can definitely continue to do so. All right. If you are using Zoom and at times it feels like you can't control what's going on your computer, if you hit escape, it will exit my screen share and allow you to regain control. For this session, a lot of it will be it could be delivered through the slides themselves. There will be a couple times that we go to another tool. So, just keep that in mind. And if you need help, we're here to help you as well. So some simple agreements that have been helpful as we've done these sessions. The first is to offer each other grace and to offer ourselves grace. Yesterday, I was working with a small cohort of teachers and we were doing these office hours, so it's really informal, and a few people specifically mentioned how important it was to remind how much it meant to them that we start off every session by talking about grace, and how they've started to repeat that throughout their day. So that was a really cool development that I wasn't expecting, but thank you. I repeat it to myself all the time too. The next point is ask a question. If there are times when things aren't making sense or your computer's not working the way you think it should, use the chat feature in Zoom, and John or Eric, our 2 moderators today, will be very quick to help you out. We're gonna try new things, and a lot of what we're trying today, there's a little bit that's gonna be in the moment trying out some tools that you may have never used before, but a lot of the trying will be over the next couple weeks as we get into the school year and we begin working with our students and with their families. So this is kind of an ongoing try, and I want to keep that mentality of we're safe to try new things with the goal of trying to foster community with our students. The next is share. We're going to be looking at quite a few resources today, some ideas. I think sharing is really built into this session in particular when we get to Flipgrid, and you're going to love the name of this, Disco Library, and we can see how people around the world, educators around the world, are already sharing, and we can be a part of that. And finally, we're all in this together. We're all teachers. We have one goal, serving our students and helping their learning, and we're all working together towards that goal. So those are our agreements. Continuing forward, these are the things that we're going to touch on today. First, why we need community. And we're going to hear from some amazing experts on that topic. Then we're going to look at the tool Google Meet, and finally wrap up with Flipgrid. So these are the 3 parts we're going to be getting to. A lot of you, I'm sure, are going to be continuing to our second session today, that Getting Started in the New Year session. I'm really excited for that session. And so some of these ideas about community and how to get things started, of course, will be met when we get to our Getting Started session. All right, so getting into community, why it's important. I heard this again and again in March, April, May, and I was really happy that school leaders, especially the one I was working with, kept saying we need to focus on Maslow and not Bloom. And we can't do Bloom until we figure out all the Maslow stuff, right? So we need to make sure our students are taken care of. And part of that is social, part of that is physiological. So I'm sure many of you were involved with serving students meals, or you have students who depended, and families who depended upon getting those meals either delivered or picked up. So we need to help meet those needs, and our schools are making that effort. Now we might come in with that safety and love and belonging, right? So how can we make sure that our students are safe if we're doing in-person learning, or we're doing hybrid, or we're doing blended or completely distance learning? How can we ensure that our kiddos are safe in any of those environments? that they feel like they're a part of what we're doing. And that starts with day one. It might even start before day one with what are the systems that, how are we reaching out to families? So, we're really trying to focus on that right-hand side, the Maslow, and we might get a little bit in the Bloom stuff today, but really focusing on empowering our kiddos. So on slide 8, if you haven't yet gotten to that slide, you'll want to be able to click on your own presentation for this, your own set of slides. We do have a link on here. When we click on it, it's going to open up into Flipgrid. And if I need to change the link, someone just gracefully tell me, and I'll put a different link in there for us. I wasn't expecting it to make us log in right off the bat, to be honest. Okay, I may have put the wrong link in there. Can someone verify either in the chat or unmuting?
I went to my own Flipgrid.
Okay, let me get a different link to you very quickly, and we'll be good. Okay, so what I'd like you guys to do, or sorry, I just read something yesterday, not to say you guys to people, that it's not inclusive. So what I'd like y'all to do is we're going to go to this link here, flipgrid.com/80FC076A. And if a moderator can put that in the chat, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, so when we get to this website, it is using Flipgrid, one of the tools that we're talking about today. And yesterday afternoon, I emailed everyone and had a link to this Flipgrid, and quite a few of you recorded responses to the prompt, why do we need community? So in here, we have 20 different responses that people have done. And what I'd like you to do, we have 2 different ways that we can spend the next 3 minutes or so. You can either click on one of these names and watch a response, or if you'd rather, you should see a big green button, and you can record your own response to that question. Okay, so those are the 2 different pathways that we can go down right now. Again, watching what other people have already recorded or recording our own. And thank you, John, for putting it in the chat.
Adam, can I ask you a question about Flipgrid?
Of course.
So I noticed that, so I'm watching on my phone, so I can't interact because my computer's restarting, but I noticed you sent a link that automatically takes us to a place where we can just click and record. Is that an avenue we can do with our students, or do our students have to log in some fashion?
Your students will not need to make an account.
Okay.
Yep. They might put their name in there when they record a response, but they don't need to. Only teachers make accounts in Flipgrid.
Okay, so we could essentially like put this link in Google Classroom as like a way for them to click and respond.
Yeah,
and they don't have to log in any extra steps.
You nailed it. So if you're looking at my screen right now, you'll notice that there's a share button. When I click on share, and we'll go over this again in just a little bit, but we have either a link I can give out, I can put a QR code somewhere, or there is an option to share directly to Classroom, and that will pull up my class list and I can post as an assignment.
Okay, perfect.
Right. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's take another 2 minutes to either record our own message or to view some of the other messages that people have made. Okay, one more minute and then we'll come back together. All right, so now we're coming back together. We did not see the link in the chat. Okay, let's put it in there again. Sorry, Tracy. There you go. All right, so we've gotten some time to explore both the responses, and a lot of us were able to record our own. Let's start off with, what was the experience with viewing other people's responses? What did you notice as you watched those?
This was my first experience with Flipgrid. Like, I've seen teachers in my building using it, and but I'm also renovating a house, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to, to play with it. So this was really cool. It was a little overwhelming. I saw the big green button, but I didn't know what to do. So first I started like listening to our peers. And I just think we as a collective group have so many amazing ideas of what community is for both ourselves as teachers and supporting each other, but also in supporting our kids. I think I forget that we also have a community of teachers to support. It's not just about creating community in our classroom, but reaching out outside of our walls to each other and really supporting each other as well.
Yeah, I love that. And something that we did at the end of the school year last year was we made some Flipgrid grids and topics that were only for the teachers at our school. And we used it for, we made messages to seniors that we're able to collect. And, you know, looking at this year, how can we catch each other doing amazing things and collect them in a place like this, and just kind of have a wall of awesome, right? Like, how cool would that be?
Right. I believe that community is important.
I love that. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Any other folks who'd like to respond about what you watched, how it was as a viewer?
I guess I felt like it was just a sense of community, just listening to what people thought about community. You know, it was like they were reflecting what I was feeling, and that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dawn. We're living during changing times. Yeah. So lots of, it's just good to see other educators. It's good to hear ideas and emotions that we might have being expressed in a way that might seem ineffable to us, but someone else can put the words to it. So awesome. Now I do want to flip a little bit roles and go to the people who recorded. Even if you're brand new at Flipgrid, what was your experience like adding a message in here?
I had to do it several times, so I was a little nervous with it.
Did it eventually work out for you?
Definitely, and it helped to see other people too. It's like in the classroom where kids can sit and listen to formulate their response or to build off of somebody else's response. Mm-hmm. So it kind of helped me settle my nerves after 3 or 4 or 5 takes.
And thank you about that response and the honesty of it. You know, an important expectation that as you're working with kids again and again, we have a tendency as educators, we want it to be perfect. We want there to be no flaws in our response, right? Like, that's us. There was I like poetry a lot. I'm a recovering English teacher. Poetry is my jam. And I used to live in Winston-Salem. I went to this poetry reading, and this guy got up there and was talking about his lesson to his children about don't let the perfect phrase get in the way of the heart. And I think being able to express that to our kids and to ourselves, don't wait for the perfect way to say something, look for the truth. And if you stumble a little bit, it's okay. That's honesty, and it's good for our kids to see that too, right? So I really encourage you. That first take may be the honest one, and we can roll with that. Now looking in here, I know that we also have some features when we record a video. We're able to add in silly pictures in there, right? And we're able to go back and use a whiteboard, or we can do lots of different ways to capture our ideas and be able to get it out to our kids. So we even get an element of differentiation and choice with how we express our ideas. We're going to transition back to our slides at this point, continuing our conversation around building community, but just shifting a little bit. Now, notice on this slide, I did say what the experts say, because there's no one more of an expert on the need for classroom community than you, teachers here. All right, let me mute.
I just don't want to be on camera.
Okay, so looking at slide 9, this is going to be another just quick prompt that we can hear from each other. I'd like to hear from maybe 2 people, maybe 3, about how we've seen community through this distance learning time. So let's highlight some things that you think have been really good, whether it's something you've done or you're in a course or a faculty meeting, whatever it might be. How have you seen community fostered in this time of distance meetings and distance learning?
I teach
Go ahead.
art. Oops, sorry, go ahead.
Darcy?
I teach elementary art, and we weren't allowed to give any new instruction, but we were allowed to supplement. And so I would throw out, here's something fun I found that you can do. And I created a flip grid that was kind of like a gallery where kids could share creating at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that a lot of the kids that I worry about a lot, emotional needs, were the ones that went on there and shared. And I thought that was pretty cool that I could stay in touch with them.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Adam, I was going to say, this is more community for the teachers. My principal runs an optional faculty meeting on Tuesdays where we log in for Zoom. And it's just really nice to see the other teachers, you know, get some school updates, but also connect, because we're all a little nervous and stressed, and it just brings peace and comfort, and, you know, just seeing everyone's smiles really helps us stay connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the school that I serve had one of those a couple days ago. Unfortunately, it was timed during one of these sessions, but I do love those impromptu or low stakes meetings like that. Maybe one other person who'd like to share on positive ways that we've fostered community.
I'm from Amherst County,
okay,
way out in the woods. And so it was hard to contact my students all the time. So I sent postcards.
Mm-hmm.
And I did hear back from some parents that the kids were so excited to get something in the mail. And even something like that was a way to show that we could still be connected, even though they didn't have internet or they wouldn't answer the phone or whatever. It was still a great way to communicate.
That's awesome. And I have a 7-year-old son, and when he got a letter from his teacher, he was beaming that day. And I think he has it close to his bed still, and that was months ago. So, you know, no tech ways of reaching out to kids is definitely important too. Weekly letters, love that. Good job, Mary. All right, so at this point, I'm going to switch back to our presentation, and we're going to keep rolling. You know, some ways that I try to foster community in these sessions, even though we only are together for an hour, when people are coming in, I have the chat going. I try to be in these sessions maybe like 15 minutes before we actually start. I have music playing. Sometimes I have slides that ask for music recommendations, and I play a little DJ with that. And to me, it just helps to, you know, I would do that if I were a classroom teacher. I always did that as a classroom teacher. So how can I bring that into my distance learning as well? On the next slide, slide 10, we're not going to spend too much time here, but this links to a website that has probably like 20 different ideas of how you can meet social emotional needs through using some different digital tools. So you can go to this on your own time. We're going to keep rolling into Google Meet. Okay. So at this point, Google Meet is a video conferencing tool. For the most part, it's going to be used largely within your school domain. That's how it's going to work best. When you're within that professional account, when you're in your school's account, you can have up to 250 participants who are interacting live in one of your meetings, and you can have up to 100,000 viewers at the same time. Hopefully none of you have class sizes that come close to that. But just knowing that, you know, if you were to do something with parents and families, you could, and you'd be covered in terms of the size. If you're in our session on Monday, we saw how Google Meet connects with Classroom and how easy it is to use those tools in tandem. And then the final part that we're talking about right here is it's secure. We'll get into that more in just a second. It's free for schools right now, and it has quite a few accessibility tools, which I'm always aware of and mindful about when I'm evaluating, like, hey, this is what we should be using. Now, I do want to quickly address the elephant in the room, right? So we're talking about Google Meet while using Zoom, and that might not quite sync up. It might seem a little paradoxical. Now, we're doing that because Meet is so secure that since we're all coming from different school domains, all these different school accounts, I would have to manually accept every single one of you when you come into the Meet. And, you know, frankly, I love you all, but I'm not going to do that for 160 people that we have here right now. There are a couple other reasons that we used Zoom as well, but really it's because of how secure, how locked down Meet can be when you're using it from a school account. Here's a short video. Again, we won't go into this, but Meet is integrated with Classroom. So if your school has that feature turned on, when your kids log into your class, they would see a link to join your permanent Classroom link. And if you're not a member of that class, then you won't be able to get into the Meet. So again, super secure lockdown for our learners. And here's a video that will walk you through that if you need extra assistance. Slide 15 goes through the two different ways that we can set up a Meet. The first is using that link that's directly built into Google Classroom. If you don't see it, then you might want to contact your school's technology department. And we also have a walkthrough guide on the left-hand side for how to do that. For how to set it up in Classroom. The other way that we can create a meeting is through Google Calendar. So let me do that real quick. So in here, I'm going to calendar.google.com. And when I make a new event, so we'll make it for the 17th. So in here, I'm making my event. So this is demo. You'll notice that right in here, it says add Google Meet video conferencing. When I click on that, it gives us a link that anyone you add as a guest, anyone you invite to this event would have that link directly in the calendar details. You'll notice that here it says up to 100 participants, and that's because I'm not using a school account right now. So the school account, you get greater access than just a normal Google account. All right, continuing on, some other really cool features. You can record your meetings. So if a kid can't join, they can go back and watch it in the future. And with this, it is going to save directly to Google Drive, which makes it super easy. I know many of you are probably using Google Drive on a regular basis. So, you know, being able to do that makes it easy. And then from here, you know, any file that's in Google Drive, you can easily put onto a Google site or into your Classroom, and it would be able to play for you. You can also manage your users' mics and videos. All of these are linked to guides on how to do those. That's why we're not like going and clicking through it. I just want to talk through it real quick. So if somebody has background noise or has something inappropriate in their video, you can mute it. You can't turn it back on, but you can mute. You can also do closed captioning. So, we talked about accessibility features, and it will do a live caption as you're talking. Some features that were announced back in the spring that are pretty cool. They didn't originally have the grid view that so many of us like in Zoom, but now they do. And I believe shortly you can do up to 49 people on the screen at the same time, which is pretty great. Again, hopefully none of us have a class larger than 49 or even approaching 49, but you can do that. It's also integrated into Gmail. I know many districts use Gmail, so you can use it that way too. And some features that are coming soon. First, breakout rooms are coming pretty soon, and being able to go in and have all those set up and seeing what our kiddos are doing. Virtual and blurred backgrounds are coming. And that's really been a topic of equity for a lot of people, that they might have computer access, but they may not want people to see their bedroom, like I'm presenting from my bedroom right now. So being able to blur what's going on in the background could be helpful. They're building in a Q&A Jamboard, which is a Google for Education tool, is going to be in there for collaborative whiteboards. And it's also going to track who was in attendance. You don't have to go through and mark. This link up here coming soon details all of those changes, and I would expect that those will be live probably within the next month.
Can you talk to, so when I did Google Meets with my students, I would sit there and wait for them to leave, but they were actually waiting for me to leave so that they could stay on and continue to talk to themselves, or sometimes I'd come on and they would be there. How do you limit them only being able to come into the room when the teacher's in there?
So that's a really good question. Let me, I'm going to switch to this account real quick. So I'm in one of my classes for Google Classroom, right? And in here, it gives me the Meet link. When we're done using it for that day, I would go to the settings in the top right, and I would reset and also turn off the link so it's no longer visible for people. And that would make it where they could no longer go into the pre-existing meeting.
Okay.
They wouldn't have access any longer.
And if I can only do it through Calendar, because we don't have the ability to do it. Well, we have Classroom, but not the Google Meet part of Classroom. Like, we don't have that extra piece. Do you know what I mean?
So it is not an extra piece, but your admin need to turn it on. So you might be able to reach out to them and ask them to, it's a one-click button, and it would be set up for you.
Thank you.
So
Bria,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
This is Stephanie. I'm in the same county as she is. At Fauquier, you have to actually take the class and get certified for it in order for it to be turned on.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Glad that we can help each other. That's awesome. All right. So again, they're continually updating Meet to make it more helpful for all sorts of contexts, but really keeping an eye on education and how that's being used. So I've really enjoyed seeing all of that come out.
Adam, I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Teresa.
Can you use the same link for classrooms and just go into settings and turn it off and on?
So you could, but a limit what would be a challenge with that is that if they had it saved, if they bookmarked that URL, then they might still be able to get into it. John or Eric, or if anyone has experience with, could kids launch with that, or does the teacher have to be in there? They've had so many changes. I'm trying to keep track of it. One of you might know though. Okay. So that's something.
Adam?
Yes, go ahead, Stephanie.
I know that when I did it during the spring, my kids were able to get into the classroom before I was even there.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure about the whole saving the link thing, but
Okay.
they are able to be in there without you there.
Okay. So I will look into all of that further because they have had several updates to make it more secure, even as the spring progressed. So I'll try to include that in my follow-up email to everyone.
This is
All right.
Barbara.
Hi,
In
Barbara.
our county standard, we made sure that somebody logged on to the meeting first, and then the kids didn't have any control.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yes,
the person
I
that
think
logged on first.
that's definitely an important step with Zoom or with Meet. And I think that Eric's going to go into more detail with all of that in our next session if you are continuing with us. So just be on the lookout. And again, my follow-up will include some more information too. So at this point, we're going to continue to progress and jump into Flipgrid. And I definitely want to preserve as much of the time in Flipgrid as we can because I think this is an amazing tool. Always lots of excitement around it when we get into it. So we're going to start with a short video about Flipgrid, and then we'll get into all of the learning about it as well, the hands-on part.
Provide inclusion for my deaf students.
I have a voice. I have a voice. I have a voice.
We designed Flipgrid to be an inclusive opportunity for all students to share their voice.
And we are so proud to build an environment that is accessible, simple, and fun.
And I'm so proud to be on our mission to empower every voice.
All right, so I love that video, and I know it might sound a little cheesy that our mission is to empower every voice, but I've seen that be very authentic from Flipgrid. Every event that I've seen from them, that is really the core of what they're trying to do. And every update that I've seen from them, you can tell that that's really their heart. They want children, learners to be able to express their knowledge, express their thoughts, their feelings in a way that's safe and protected for them. So I love it. A quick overview of Flipgrid. It's a threaded video discussion as we saw before. It allows for easy screen recording. And as we saw with Meet, it is also secure, free, and full of accessibility tools. And on one of our upcoming slides, it does have some of their recent updates, and we'll look at how it's even more secure and safe for our kiddos. So there's often the question of how do we do this with our younger students? A lot of times our kiddos will need to join using a student ID. And it doesn't make an account, but it just ties it to a name. Now with younger kids, they may not have that. So they have a couple of really cool options for you. So you can make a list of students and with that, use any identifier that you want. Some people might just do a first name or do initials or an alias. And I love the idea of an alias, right? Like all of our students can do a nickname or what would your superhero name be, whatever it might be, and we can really empower them. So I definitely want to talk through how we get kids in there. But for right now, we're gonna get into how we get there. So with that being said, we're gonna head to flipgrid.com. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see a link that says educator sign up. And then it's gonna walk you through how to log in. Once we get there, we'll together go through how we set up our first set of topics and begin to bring kids in. Now, I do have an instruction video on the right so that a couple weeks from now, when you're trying to get back in there or sharing with a partner, that you can use this and help get them there. But again, right now we're going to flipgrid.com, and in the top right, we're clicking educator sign up.
Is it the same code you gave us before?
You should not need a code when you sign up. So we're gonna, when we get there, we're going to click educator login. For most of us, we'll pick either Google login or Microsoft login.
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
How do you, without deleting past grids, how do you make them unobtainable, if that's the right word I'm looking for?
We'll get into that in just a little bit. I promise you. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that real quick. All right, so
Adam?
again, yes?
Does it matter if you sign up with the Google or with the Microsoft? Like, is that going to be an issue later if you're trying to use it with your Google Classroom?
It should not, I don't think it will matter, but signing up with your Google account, if you're mostly using Google tools in your classroom, makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Flipgrid is owned by Microsoft. You can see that in the top left corner, but they still know that a lot of educators are using Classroom. So I think that might be why they have the Google login first. Okay. So again, we're signing up with either Google or Microsoft. You might notice that it does give students and participants, it tells them they do not need an account, just use a flip code. But for us, we do want to log in as teachers. Okay. Okay. So when we get in there the first time, can someone tell me what you see when you log in for the first time and it says My Grids? What's popping up for you?
You have to make your first grid. Like once you log in and say welcome, it says let's make our first grid. So
okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So it says let's make a grid or your first grid. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to name mine Welcome to Our Community. You can make yours whatever you want. It could be welcome to third grade class, whatever you want. As we continue to scroll down after we name our grid, you'll see that we have 3 different types of grids that we can do. The first is school email. And if you work with students who log into a Google account, so often this is, at least in Albemarle, this is third grade and up, you would pick the first one. Now, if you work with younger students or maybe you work with students who developmentally, this is giving them a login isn't the best route, you would do that student ID, and that's where you would make your class roster and add in their alias so that they everyone would have a linked account. The final option here, educator learning community, would be if you would want to work with other educators. So, we were talking about building up within our own professional community, and that would be this third option. Then beneath that, once you've made your selections, we get the create a flip code, and you can customize this, but you can't have something that anybody else has used before. So I can't go in and make third grade because that already exists. But by default, it's going to probably use your last name and just randomly assign something, and that's perfectly fine. So I have my settings in place the way I want, and I'm ready to hit next. When I hit next, it takes me to my school email part. And this is going to ask for what domains do I want to be allowed in here. So because I logged in with an @K12 Albemarle, it's automatically going to put that in. There are some districts that have a teacher at blah, 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 and a student at blah, blah, blah. And so you'd probably want both of those listed in here. Or if you are doing like a pen pal thing or a partner class across the world or across the state, you would want to put that in here so that people in both of those districts would be able to add in here together. When you have the one or more that you want, you're ready to hit next, and your grid is ready. So in here, it gives us a couple ways that we can share this. So I can copy and paste it somewhere. Maybe I'm putting it into that beginning of the year newsletter to the families, and I want them to record a little bit about who they are, and we're building up the true learning community. I can embed it by using the embed code. If I have a website or Canvas or something like that, I can post in Microsoft Teams, Google Classroom, or Remind all in one location. So most likely one of these three tools could be really helpful for you, and it may vary from person to person, but for everybody, having that direct link will meet our needs too. So when we have all that set up, we're ready to hit go to your grid, and it's gonna pop in here. It has the name of my grid, which you can think of the term grid and class as synonymous. In fact, I think I read that they're gonna update where it's going to switch to class or something like that pretty soon. Then down beneath, I have a topic. So typically you make one grid for your class, and then you have, you add multiple topics in here. So our first topic is automatically put in there, and it's say hello on Flipgrid, okay? So we have that, but for now, I want to see how we add a new topic, so we're going to run through that too. We're going to click that pinkish, orangish, or evolving color that says add new topic. And in here, we can start filling this out. So I'm going to give my title. So this will be Family Scavenger Hunt. Yeah, we're going to make this Family Talent Show. Prompt, we are all gifted. Please record your family's special talent. Then after I give a prompt, so the prompt is going to give more information about what type of response I'm looking for. I get into things like recording time. I can go from as little as 15 seconds up to 10 minutes. So for this, I want to limit them to 1 minute. I can do video moderation where I have to watch them before the other members of the community can watch them, just by toggling this. Then I love this next part where we get into focus. Now you don't have to do a focus, but you can, and you can record a video description of what you want them to do. Or maybe you give them an example, and here's my family's talent, and you can do that. You can upload a video, you can add something from YouTube. So if you want them to respond, watch this and respond, you can do that. I know a lot of our students like GIFs or emojis, so you can bring those in. It also works with Kahoot. We have a lot of Kahoot fans out there, I bet. Nearpod, Newsela, Adobe Spark. So you can incorporate lots of different types of resources that will show up in the top right before they record their response. Now, once you've made the selections that you want, you may choose to do more options, and that pops down. I don't typically use topic tip too much, but you could if you wanted to. You can have a feature link, so maybe this would be learn more here if you need to, or it can link to a presentation if you want. There was the question a little bit ago about topic status and how you can turn it off, and that's right in here too. So in here, by default, it's going to make it active, but we can also make it frozen. So it's turned off right now, or I can have it hidden and people can't see it. Now, the cool thing about the status, and when we launch it, I can say, I want to schedule it for Sunday, and it's going to be live for 2 weeks. And before Sunday, they can't get there. And after August 9th, they can't get there. And I don't have to do anything between now and then. It's automated for me. Keep going down and we get to video features. So when they're done recording their video, students are prompted to record a selfie, and that's going to be the thumbnail when people are going through and viewing. They can give it a title. We can turn on or off view count if we want to. Our students can edit if they want, and they can trim out certain parts or rearrange. So lots of different choices in here. Now, some of you might want to scaffold to student replies. Maybe we start off with that option turned off. We talk through what it looks like to give a respectful response to somebody, and they could start to get that threaded part. Now, a lot of teachers use Flipgrid. In the spring, a lot of teachers use Flipgrid for book groups. So you would really need that threaded student-to-student reply, but you would probably want to norm what that looked like before you go live. Feedback is built into Flipgrid as well. By default, the two areas that they include are ideas and performance, but you can customize it and add whatever criteria you want. When you're all set, you can hit create topic and it's set. So again, like we saw before, we can copy this direct link to that individual question prompt and put the link either in a newsletter, email, wherever it might be. We can get a QR code and put it around our classroom if you're back physically in your classroom. Embedding, Teams, Classroom, Remind, we have those same options here again. Okay, so you'll notice in here that I have zero responses.
Hi.
Yes, there's a question.
I just wondered if you can customize the Flipgrid code that you create after you do the topic. You know, the one you were just on the screen before.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. I don't believe so. I haven't done it in the past, but you may be able to. I just haven't found the way. I do want to highlight that when we are in that share mode and we get our link pulled up on here, there is an option for a topic guest mode. And that's what I did for our session today. I made it so that guests like family members and content experts could easily access the topic. So this means I can give them a separate link and it'll be able to take them directly in without having to make an account or being tied to my school district domain, if that makes sense. Okay, so as the teacher, I want to show you what it looks like once we start to get responses in here. So far, we've seen how to make our first topic. We've seen how to share that topic out, and eventually people are going to start sharing them, right? So in here, as the teacher, I can click on Amy. Or to view some of the other students need. Okay, so you can hear me in the background, Amy's talking, and I'm viewing it. I can hit reply. And because I'm the teacher, I'll probably get a few extra settings in here than what other students get. So I'm in there. Okay, so as the teacher, I can record a response back to the student. I can use a whiteboard to give details. I can turn video on or off, just use screen recording, lots of different choices in here. And when I'm done, I would hit submit and she'd be able to see my feedback. I can also do typed feedback if I want to. So down here, since I'm logged in, I click on Amy's name. Or to view some of the other. Why isn't that working the way I thought? Okay, so lots of different ways that we can come in and engage with this. Let me refresh. We can also get the stats that in here, 22 responses, 2 people replied to someone else, 480 views, 5.5 hours of shared learning, which is pretty cool. Now, as the teacher, I can do a slideshow and be able to see lots of them and just quickly go from one to the next, be able to see and quickly do a formative assessment and kind of know what the thoughts are for my kiddos. All right, so we are running short on time, so I'm gonna continue moving along to some other important parts that I think you'll really like. So at the top of our screen right now, you'll notice that we have a couple different headings in here. The one I want to take everybody to at this point is a Disco library. So let's go ahead and click where it says Disco library at the top of your Flipgrid page. And this is going to be your jam. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. So in here, these are topics that other people in the Flipgrid community, meaning teachers, have used in their classroom and have added so that you can quickly bring it in. So in here, every school in the country right now is probably wrestling with what does it look like to talk about race, equity, and justice. So if we click on this collection, we'll probably find things scaffolded to different ages. As we keep looking through, we can toggle. We have different topics from EPIC, from focused on learning from home. As I scroll down, here are some featured Disco playlists. So we have content partners like conversation starters. We have MSN Kids, different state parks. EPIC, my son, 7-year-old, listens to audiobooks on EPIC nonstop. We have Lego for education, Breakout EDU, and all of these have questions you can integrate with your kiddos. Now, as we keep scrolling down, I really love this, that we can filter to find exactly what I'm looking for. So I can say my audience is preschool to kindergarten. So these are kids who may not fully be able to type an idea out, right? But we can pick, we'll do elementary school. Then I can say, I need it for the subject of beyond the classroom or building community. And now I can go through and find one that makes sense for me. And they're all in Spanish here. Okay. So again, I can go through and find what it is that I'm looking for. Let's take about 1 minute to just go through and explore the Disco library, and then we'll come back together.
Can I ask a clarifying question on Flipgrid?
Of course.
So is a grid like your homeroom, and then you would make a topic for every new assignment you want the kids to do?
Yes. Yes, okay. 100%. Good clarification. Okay. So at this point, we are going to come back together because we only have a few minutes left. So if I wanted to use one of these about race, equity, and justice, I could find one even for elementary school that is about embracing our differences. And if I know this is the one I want to use, or building empathy, I click on it. I can see any content that goes along with it. And if it's one that I do want to eventually add, and it links directly to I Am Human on EPIC, which is a free program for kiddos to use to be able to access ebooks and audiobooks. So I could use that with my students. I would come over, select what grid I want it to go to. I'm going to put it in Disciples 3rd grade class. And when I'm all set, I'm going to hit add. When I do this, it allows me to go in and customize it so I can make it really helpful for my own kids and who I know. I can adjust the timing, add in an additional focus. Maybe it's me recording my response about why empathy or why all of my students matter. And when I'm all set, I could update topic and it will post to them. So let's hear very briefly on what we like about Disco Library, other than its name. That's the obvious answer.
So these are just kind of like pre-prepared topics and pre-prepared, opening questions, and then they can just kind of make their videos in response to them.
Yes. So to me, this is a great place to start. If you are brand new to Google, or if you're brand new to Flipgrid, I might come through here, find 2 or 3 that you're going to want to use in the first couple weeks of your class. And start with this, and then you can get in and start using your own. But this is a great place to kind of stretch your mind with what can be done in Flipgrid. So I'm going to head back to our slides and just run through a couple instructional ideas that I collected as well. So we can engage with our students by doing a Q&A. and everybody responds. It can be academic, non-academic. We can flip it where our students are the teachers and they're telling us about something that they care about and that they've learned about on their own. We can use student host where everybody gets a different topic, or this is Miles's week and he's going to teach us about whatever topic he chooses. We can do a weekly SEL check-in and just how are you doing this week? And by adjusting that moderator setting, all of those messages could be private so that other people, the peers, may not need to see it. And teachers are also using it for flip hunts, which is really cool. Here's an example on slide 25 of one of my friend, Mari Venturino, lives in Southern California. And here is a flip hunt that she made. Now, when you record a video, you can give it a title, and what she had her students do was use one of these hashtags so that she can go through and filter and find all of the responses about mountains or all the responses about eruptions and be able to find it. Each of these different challenges were worth a different point value, and so she could have a little contest going with her kiddos. My friend Donnie in Kentucky, he was just named Kentucky Teacher of the Year earlier this week. He did a talent show, and this student here on the left, his talent was jumping off of a shed into a river. So there you go. Let our kids have 60-second talent shows, and you'll be surprised with where it goes. We already mentioned the Disco Library, lots of inspiration in there. Won't get there. Just real quick, Flipgrid is full of accessibility tools, being able to express your ideas in multiple ways, being able to listen and view other people's responses to help co-construct knowledge. And slide 30 has a lot of updates that are coming. So one of those is mic mode. If your student doesn't want to show his or her face, they can just record an audio response. They're also including more options when it comes to recording video on your mobile device. I mentioned before that when students do comments from one to the next, they do scan it for bullying and automatically report it to the teacher at this point, which is amazing. This video on the left is a really cool event that Flipgrid does annually, Flipgrid Live. This year it had to be done remote, but they cover a lot of those updates here on the left, and it's cool to see the different ways that they're trying to serve the educational community. All right, so I know we're 1 minute over. I'm sorry about that. If you have questions, you can stick around in the next couple minutes to ask them. I want to thank John and Eric for moderating today. I know that the chat was pretty busy, so thank you guys. Thank you to Vascal, Pam, and Liza for putting this series on for educators across the state and for making it free. There are additional sessions next week and the week after if you would like to look at those. It's linked on slide 33. Finally, I would love feedback from you. I'm consistently trying to improve and better meet the needs of the teachers I support. Slide 34 has our feedback link, bit.ly/3E76XNX. It's also, if you click where it says feedback, it'll take you to that page. Please take a moment to fill out that form. The very last question on the first page of the form asks if you would like to receive renewal credit. If you choose to, please be very intentional with how you type your email address and your name. Please double check that it is written correctly. Otherwise, you probably won't receive the certificate. So there you go. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. You will get a follow-up email from me later today with the recording, as well as the feedback form and answers to some of the questions that you guys posed. If you'd like to stick around, you can. Otherwise, have a great day. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. And I have a really basic, probably fairly stupid question, but I asked